Welcome to Season 8 of the BIG Sci-Fi Podcast with Adina, Brian, Cris, and Steve, the biggest sci-fi podcast in the galaxy. We love talking all things science fiction, from film, television, and literature. Join our crew and find a seat quickly, because we're blasting into a universe filled with adventure and fun. All hailing frequencies are open for this week's episode of the BIG Sci-Fi Podcast.
Hey listeners, welcome back to the BIG Sci-Fi Podcast. My co-host and I have been waiting, no joke, for 2 years to have today's guest on our show. Now, one of the great joys of watching a new Star Trek series is discovering which character breaks out and captures the hearts of fans everywhere. And let's be honest, Lieutenant Erica Ortegas is definitely one of those characters. And now that's thanks to Melissa Navia, who brings fire, humor, swagger, and heart to the helm of the Enterprise. Whether she's dodging plasma storms, cracking a joke, or just owning the screen with her signature smirk, she has become a standout in Strange New Worlds. But Melissa's more than someone who plays a pilot I think we all feel we trust with our lives. She's becoming a powerful voice in science fiction, an advocate for real conversations about grief and identity, and just a total force of nature. So, Melissa, welcome so much to the BIG Sci-Fi Podcast.
Oh my goodness, I'm so happy to be here. Am I all those things? That was a
so.
pretty cool intro. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. I'm very, very happy to finally be here with you all speaking and chatting, and let's talk about all things Strange New Worlds and Star Trek, and ask me all the questions you've been waiting 2 years to ask.
I know. Well, especially the last few weeks, because, you know, as we know, or as our listeners might not know, we've been scheduling this kind of week by week because you are in the middle of filming season 4 of Strange New Worlds, which is just exciting that there's a season 4. What's it been like? How crazy or how fun, or just what's it like to be on set of a Star Trek show right now?
It never gets boring. That's definitely, for starters. I get that question a lot. You know, what is it like to walk on to the bridge? You know, what is it like to get to shoot, you know, these new episodes and see these scripts and know that you're part of this iconic franchise and this crew? And I'm just like, yeah, it never gets old. We had a cast read today, and I was still sitting there going, like, I can't believe I get to do this for a living. You know, this is a lot of years of hustling and hard work and sticking to my path in life, which is to tell stories. And I'm an actor, I'm a performer, I'm a storyteller, I'm an artist, and to get to do that in this franchise, in this family, I am very, very lucky. It's a lot of work, it's a lot of hard work, but we have just such wonderful, talented, dedicated people behind the scenes that whenever I'm in a cast read, whenever I'm on the bridge, especially, like, bridge days are very long days filming wise, but I love them because Ortegas has a lot of her scenes on the bridge, so it's very much like home base for me. But to get to hear the dialogue and the kind of the battles and the madness that they've put together, like, every time I'm out there, I'm just like, you know, I would love to do this for always, but for right now, I'm just like, for as long as we get to do it, I'm gonna just keep pinching myself.
So are there favorite moments that you've had recently that you're, and again, you said you were on the bridge, you know, your bridge is your home base. Do you get off the bridge much lately?
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard. Like you said, we're filming season 4, and I know the fans and everyone, I'd like to think everyone, I know a lot of people have been waiting for season 3.
Yes.
Yes.
And we just recently, I don't know when this is airing, but we recently announced our, you know, season 3 premiere date, which was, we pretty much found out at exactly the same time that the public found out. And it was interesting when you see, you know, for the most part, everybody's just like elated. And especially the most beautiful messages and comments are just how much everyone's just like, you know, oh, right now with the state of the world and the way everything is, like we need this, you know, and it's kind of, it harkens to the importance of stories in our lives in a very serious, real, necessary way. And then there's also, you know, the people, and I understand, who are just like, it has been forever since we saw season 2, which has been 2 years. And we're very lucky that we have such a devoted fan base that, you know, I don't know of a lot of other shows that would be able to keep marching on the way that we're marching on. But then you have people who are like, what took so long? And why do we only get 10 episodes? And I just, I want to just like, I'm going to do like I don't know, some sort of a Instagram live one day just to like answer this, because it's just like, but what took so long is the strike and all sorts of things. So that was one aspect that delayed our filming, was the very necessary, important writer's strike and the actor's strike. And then the 10 episode thing is just like we're essentially making like 10 mini movies,
Right.
And so the amount of time it takes from pre-production and then production and then post-production, like there's no moment when, everybody is not working. And so it's just, and I know like on the internet, everyone says everything, but it's just like, what are they doing over there? What is it, 10 episodes? And I'm like, we're exhausted. That's what we're doing.
And you as an actor have full control of that too, don't you? You're in charge of the studio.
Oh my goodness, yeah, I'm constantly calling up all of our special effects wizards and saying, what's going on? Yeah, what's happening? Yeah. Who needs sleep? Not us.
Just hang a model from a string, okay? That's all you need.
Right. Yeah. Right. So it's so back to your question, which was, do you get off the bridge? It's right. I went on a really long tangent there, but essentially to say that I almost don't know what I can say and not say anymore.
Oh, sure.
Which is it's like sometimes I feel like at this point I forget that everyone has not seen season 3.
We have not. And
then my head is already in season 4.
Yeah.
And I think there was I was at the Saturn Awards, the wonderful, wonderful Saturn Awards that have invited me 2 years in a row to be a presenter. And on this red carpet, this last Saturn Awards, we had an interview, and I was reading it later, and it was just like, it was like, Ethan Peck said this, Christina Chong said this, Melissa Navia said nothing at all. She said she couldn't say anything. And I was like, I take my instructions very literally, and I said nothing. So do I get off the bridge? Do I not get off the bridge? Time will tell.
Now, will you be watching it when it airs, like we're watching it when it airs?
Yes, I watch it because the cool thing about doing a show like ours, especially like ours, like any sci-fi show, but especially ours, which just hits just every button you could possibly hit in terms of like what we're tackling from episode to episode. When we watch it at the same time you guys do, like we're seeing it really for the first time, because the music has come together, special effects have come together. Like we get to, when we do ADR, in post-production, we get to see, some more parts of the episode, but it really is kind of like, we're seeing it for the first time, and in a lot of ways experiencing it for the first time. And then I have just so many friends and family that are Trekkies, and and people who love the show and love me, and so they're watching it, and so I can't help but be right there with you guys when it airs, because I'm getting texts and I'm getting messages, and so I'm definitely I will be watching with everybody.
That's pretty cool. Is there, since you said you have a lot of Trekkies in the family, do you ever get the phone calls or the text messages like, oh my God, Melissa, that was a great scene, or this is your best episode, or boy, what a great line you just had, or you rock that? I mean, are they ever like real time texting you, or maybe, that week?
Oh my goodness. Yes, absolutely. I love, like, a story I like to tell is my, one of my brother-in-laws is a massive Trekkie. And I remember when I booked the role, and I told my family, I FaceTimed with my parents and my sisters. And I remember it was like a few weeks, down the line. And my brother-in-law like sends me a text, and he's like, your sister told me I couldn't text you. I couldn't ask you any questions about it. I just have one question. Is it Strange New Worlds? And I was like, yeah. I thought he knew that, but it was just like, he was like, oh, he's like, this is the one we've all been waiting for. And that like just filled my heart. I was just like,
nice.
We hadn't even shot anything. Wasn't even in Canada yet. And so he's been wonderful. He actually came with me on the Star Trek cruise in February. And so he was just like the perfect wingman. He'd been on the cruise before. And so, he was great because he could, he was explaining certain things to me that, actors maybe that I could like I knew or I've seen before, but he would be like, he played so and so, and he was in this series, and this is what
That's
happened.
fantastic.
And I'm like, oh, it's so great.
Was this because I saw you on the cruise since I was there too? Was this your first Star Trek cruise?
It was not only my first Star Trek cruise, it was my first cruise.
Oh,
and now I'm
wow.
totally, now I feel like any
hooked?
cruise I ever go on has to be a Star Trek cruise,
Yeah.
has to be Star Trek themed.
Well, and that's what I tell people is you get hooked because when I went, this was my second. When I went on my first one last year, before I even got on the boat, I wound up booking the second one. And yes, and I'm already booked for next year because
Yeah,
it really,
it's just,
it's addicting.
So, yeah, and it's just so wonderful. Like conventions in general are like just these beautiful, really safe spaces, you know, where you get to see people living their best lives and a lot of times showing parts of themselves that they probably, you know, can't for any sort of reason, you know, in their regular daily life because, you know, they're working and they're doing their own thing, but like, or they're doing the work thing that they have to be doing. But you really get to like, it's playtime in the best way. And on the cruise, you know, it's so funny because people who haven't been on the cruise are kind of like, isn't it crazy? Because the fans are right there and they're there all the time. I'm like it was so chill. Like everybody's so respectful. And there's just this general, and I speak really because, you know, my experience is the world of Star Trek. Right. And so for me, I mean, the fan base has just been wonderful across the board. You know, I've done conventions now kind of all over the world. And there's just this, the only way to describe it is like a family. Like I sat in on a book club for a book that I hadn't even read. I love books, and I'd met the author earlier, and it was just the coolest thing. It was like, you know, they were talking about the book, they were talking about other Star Trek series. You know, at one point, you know, somebody who had to be in their late 70s was having this wonderful discussion with somebody who had to be like in their early 20s, if not younger. And I was just sitting there going, you know, the world needs more book clubs. The world needs more conventions. The world needs more Star Trek. You know, it was just very cool. And then like the dance parties at night, like they just filled my heart. And I was not prepared. I kind of like, I did the thing where I like stood in the back and I like moved, you know, against the wall. It was like a middle school dance, but I was not alone. I was with other people doing the same thing. And so we were all in it together. But no, it was just such a beautiful experience. And I will always love conventions. And yeah, I would love to do another cruise down the line, but Star Trek has to be involved.
Yeah, no, it's a great experience. Again, for anyone listening, you know, if you can go, but the concern is it is addicting. You will be ruined for any other kind of cruise.
Yeah, no, right. Yeah, totally. Like I'm like, I need to get Star Trek pajamas for that pajama dance party. I wasn't prepared. I wasn't prepared to dance in my pajamas.
Well, and there are whole Facebook groups to prepare people who are new to the cruise and where people can ask all their questions and sort it all out ahead of time and figure out what their door decorations are going to be and all the theme nights. And yes, there's all this stuff.
Totally. Yeah. And to go with somebody who like I mean, it would have still been great, obviously, without my brother-in-law, but he made it just, he was so great because he was kind of my handler. He was like my friend. He was like, he was watching out for me. And then I had no, you know, for someone who plays a pilot and is getting a pilot's license, my sense of direction sometimes is just not great. So I wouldn't know which way was the front of the ship, the back of the ship, all that good stuff. But he was able to, you know, get me where we needed to go. So yeah, we'll invite him again for sure.
So that was one of the things we talked about at Trek Long Island last year, is that you had started flying with Michael Dorn, and now you said you're in the process of getting your pilot's license. So that's continued.
Yes. So I'm getting my pilot's license. I've run into some delays, mostly that I'm flying a starship in a different country than the school where my flight school is. And they reached out to me not too long ago to be like, hey, what's going on? Where are you? And I was like, well, and I had like, you know, we shoot in Toronto. I live in New York. I'm from New York. And so I was like, originally in my head, I had this plan of like, you know, coming back every other week and then, you know, going flying. But it's so tricky because as you guys saw scheduling this interview, you know, our schedules come out. So kind of everything can change last minute. You really get the schedule for the upcoming episode kind of last minute because there's so many parts to align. And so I was like, yeah, that's not really happening. But the thing about flying is that so much of the learning and the knowledge base happens, at home, happens, with your books and in the classroom, right? And so they were just like, you can get all that done now. And I was like, you are absolutely right. There is no reason that I could not get that done. And then when I'm back, and we finish filming season 4, then I can, jump in the plane and be better for it. But yeah, flying with Michael Dorn was, I still can't believe we did that. And he is the coolest. And he thinks I'm pretty cool, and I don't understand why, but he's great.
What planes have you flown with him? Because he does own one of my favorites, the F-86 Star Sabre jet. But which one did you fly with him?
So he told me what it was when we flew it. He sent me a picture of it recently. Okay. And at this moment in time, I cannot tell you what it was. Was it
military or was it?
No, it was not. It was not military.
Okay.
But we had a great. He told me that he spoke about it on a podcast recently, so I think I can speak about it on this podcast. But we had a great moment where it looked like smoke was coming out of the engine, and I had like an out of body experience. I was like, "This is not what? No way, this is not happening." He is so calm and cool and collected. Mm-hmm. Like I looked to him to see if like I should be panicked, and he was like and you could smell it. You could smell a little bit of something, caught something, and then it went away. And he was just so like you wouldn't have thought anything happened. And then once we landed, he was like, that was something. And I said, yeah. I said, were you nervous at all? He's like, I was just thinking we might have to land a little earlier than we expected. I was like, I can't. That's the kind of pilot I strive to be like Michael Dorn. That is my goal in life, is to be more like him. But yeah, I can't wait to fly with him again. I just have to get back out to the other side of the country to do it.
Yeah, so he really embraced, I'm sorry, Dina, the Zephyr Cochrane from First Contact smacking the button and hitting it and going, ignore it.
Ignore it. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, I wanted to jump in and go back because you were talking about doing ADR. And I'm just always so curious about like what kind of headspace do you have to get in to do the ADR after you've already shot the episode?
Yeah, that's a great question because it is not easy at all. It is I've not met many actors unless maybe you're a voice actor and you do a lot of your work in the booth and you like doing that. I've not met many actors who are just like, oh, I can't wait to do all this ADR afterwards, because on set, whether it's you're on the stages, whether you're on the AR wall, whether it's on location, there's just everything about that day, about all the different departments coming together, all the different elements coming together. Like it really shapes the scene and shapes what you guys end up seeing on the screen. And so when, for whatever reason, there could be a lot of different reasons why the sound was not perfect, or they needed to, or for some reason, maybe they're replacing, the name of something for whatever reason. Like there's so many levels of, what's the word I'm looking for? Of, so many things that have to be signed off on right after we've finished shooting. And so for all sorts of reasons, something might change. When you find out that you have to do ADR, you're kind of like, and when you're there and you're watching yourself on the monitor, and I'll see it. And I've gotten, I'm actually, not to toot my own horn, but I am very good at it. But it's because I'm a perfectionist and a Virgo and insane. And so I'm just like, we're getting this right, because you see it. Mm-hmm. And so you see yourself on the screen, and I can immediately go back to what happened on that day, what I was feeling, what I was doing. Mm-hmm. And you're looking at your performance, and I like looking at myself on screen. Like I know there are some actors and people who don't like watching their performances. That is not me. No. When I remember when season 1 came out and we saw the streamers before it premiered to the world, I was there immediately, and I was just like, what did I do? What did I look like? And then I saw the whole thing, and I was like, all right, I approve. But like in ADR, you're seeing yourself. And so then you have to put yourself back in that. And if you were, if you're out of breath, if you're in a fight scene, and maybe you need to replicate fight sounds, which like, or like you just got punched, or you need to match, if your mouth is moving on screen, you have to match you have to match the lines
Mm-hmm.
exactly, right? And then it becomes a lot too. It's very musical in that, like you see, like, you know, where your chest goes up and down, and so there's a whole art to it. And I've been very fortunate on this show that when we do it, you know, everyone is involved, everyone's there, you know, the sound team is there. Sometimes the director is there, a producer is there. And so we really work to get it right. But it is tricky. It is tricky. That is what I can say about that. And yeah, but I'm good at it.
Oh my gosh! Even the breathing, you have to probably you said it's kind of watching your. I would not have thought of that. Making sure if it looks like you're exhaling loudly, you've got to do that, right? Or it's going to look weird.
I wouldn't have thought of any of that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and then when you're in the room, and you're also like, you know, when I do ADR, it's in Manhattan. You know, and so I'm taking myself back to 6 months ago when, you know, I was in Toronto. And so I'll be there, and sometimes I'll take like for like something I ADR'd once, I took like my own shirt and like wrapped it around my head so that it would look like, you know, I'd be able to have like a muffled sound. And you have to get over the fact that you probably look silly to the engineer that's, you know, in the booth behind you, you know, because I'm like trying to like, you know, run in place and get out of breath. But I'm like, none of that matters. What matters is the final product. And so if I look insane, so be it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Melissa, we can't talk about season 3, which is coming out in July. We can't talk about season 4 because we don't know when that's going to come out. So we can talk about seasons 1 and seasons 2. Those are legal.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to me, season 2 represented everything that is Strange New Worlds because you did so many different things that had not been done before. And you get the scripts or you see what you're going to be doing at the beginning of the year before you even start production. And they said, oh, yeah, by the way, Melissa, we're going to do a musical episode. What do you think about singing for TV? What was your reaction to that? Because truly, that is one of my all-time favorite episodes of Trek, especially the music. It was just wonderful.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much. And thank you for saying that. I from everyone that I speak to, conventions, you know, as Adina knows, I've done space conferences with members from the space community, and hands down across the board, the episode that I hear from everyone from all walks of Star Trek fandom, the episode that they're all just like, we loved it, is the musical episode.
Oh, wow.
That's
sometimes when I hear someone at a convention, they'll be like, you know, I know not everybody was crazy about it, but I loved it. And I'm like, who is everybody not being crazy about it? Like, is it like the 3 people? Is it the 3 people who are like shouting online? Like, don't listen to them. Like, I'm like, everywhere I go, it's the musical episode that everybody's so excited about.
Yep.
But no, when we actually heard about that, was actually something that I knew was in the works even before. I think when we were still finishing shooting season 1, I knew it was in the works. And I'm a theater kid. You know, I'm a musical theater kid. And so I've been doing theater since I was little in school. And then I had the high school I went to on Long Island in New York, you know, had a really fantastic musical theater program. And so I loved it. I was like, this is amazing. And to me, very much like we were talking about the bridge before, like the bridge is to me very much a stage, right? And when we you know, when we block a scene and then we invite the crew to come and watch the blocking and they all stand, you know, in the view screen, it's the coolest thing to me. I don't know if I'm sure the other, you know, my other cast members also feel an element of this, but it really does feel like we're performing a scene on a stage for them. The stage being the bridge. And so I loved the concept. I loved that we were doing it. What I didn't love is that Ortegas did not get a full song. But I understood story-wise. I will always, no matter what happens, I'm always 100% on the side of the writers. They always, they know what they're doing. And story-wise, I understood why she didn't burst out into song, because Ortegas is cool, calm, and collected, and was not having a high school romance, you know, issue. And so when she does sing, she's just like, I'm a pilot and I'm awesome. I'm like, that makes sense. And then she is a you know, an integral part of the ensemble numbers, right?
Yes, indeed.
I love that she got this great dance moment in Chapel's song, I'm Ready.
Oh, yeah.
In the Pork Alley. But yeah, when I sang on the bridge, I sang every single time I sang. Like, there was no lip sync and there was no nothing. I was just like, we are singing. I said, I have 2 lines.
So
in
that
this whole
was
episode.
recorded live. That was recorded live.
No, so we recorded in a studio.
Okay.
But on the day, like, we were given the option. They were just like, they were like, you can lip sync it or you can sing it. And I said, we are belting it. We are singing every single time.
Good for you.
Yeah, and so the same way too. Like, there are certain people who don't like seeing themselves on the screen. Other people don't like hearing themselves. But I was just like, no, I was like, I can hear myself. I'll see all of it's good. So we sometimes joke that if we get some sort of a Broadway run, that all I ask is that Ortegas gets her long-awaited song.
Nice. So that leads me to a question, as someone who loves theater too, and you being a theater kid, what are some of your favorite productions?
Oh my goodness. So production that stands out for me. It's so funny. I was just looking at there's a run right now of the Pirates of Penzance in New York. And growing up, like, my dad, raised me on classical music, and movies. And so one of my favorite movies since I was very, very small was Amadeus.
Yes.
Which for like the first bunch of years of my life, I never actually saw the first 3 minutes of the movie. So if you're familiar with the movie, you would understand why like a 4 or 5-year-old would not want to see the first couple of minutes. But like in terms of like music and production and performance and all of that, like, it's just, I've loved it since forever. And I really loved Gilbert and Sullivan as a kid. So the Mikado, Pirates of Penzance, like I would, when my other friends were watching things that kids watch, I was just like, I was falling in love with the Pirate King. And that to me made sense. And then in terms of, so I was actually looking, I want to, there's so many Broadway shows right now I want to get tickets to, but a show that stands out for me is Pippin.
Okay.
Familiar with Pippin? Yeah.
Yep.
Because I saw it a few times, and it was also the only time I'd ever gone to a theater and I forgot my glasses. I was like in the 7th grade, I think, and they took me to the high school that ended up being the high school I went to. So the one with the really amazing musical theater program. And so I went there, and we were in the back row, and I saw a whole performance of Pippin. It was the second time I'd seen it. It was all blurry, and everybody was just dancing. No. So, yeah, so I really got to enjoy the music. Because I saw nothing. But I think in my life, that's the only time I've ever been, because I wasn't wearing contact lenses yet. So it was the only time I was just like, left my glasses in my desk. And I was so angry. But yeah, I love theater. And as like a New York actor, I used to get sometimes heat from casting directors when they would like see my resume and they'd be like, why aren't you doing more theater? And I was just like, because my feeling was I love theater. That's for me, nothing will ever top that. But in the last 15 years, my goal was to make it in film and TV. And so I was very strange in that I was a New York actor that focused solely on film and television. I did end up doing some shows, and I did an off-Broadway play right before the pandemic really kicked in, and we got shut down when all of Broadway got shut down. And it was one of the most beautiful decisions in my life to do that production. But I was always just like, no, I'm going to hit a big role, and then I'll come back around to theater. I'll come back around to Broadway. And, back in the day, people would be like, well, that's, quite cocky of you. And I was like, well, you got to be cocky to make it in this business. Because if you're not going to make it. You have to, when everybody else is telling you no, you have to think you're awesome. Sometimes you're the only person who thinks so.
Well, you had talked real briefly, guys, and I'll let you go. Because I'm hogging Melissa for a second here.
You're fine.
Talking about theater, but you mentioned your brother-in-law going with you on the cruise. I went to see Les Mis in Cleveland, Ohio, here with my sister-in-law. Sometimes in-laws just make the best buddies when you go do stuff. I mean, it just totally.
And I have 3 sisters, and we're 4 girls, and so my brother-in-laws are all like brothers to me.
That's so cool.
So it's just. Yeah, so it's just this very cool energy of, like we're buds, and also, he needs to like protect me with his life, or or else my sister will kill him. So it's in-laws are wonderful.
Yeah, I feel like people don't talk about that enough. Like I, celebrated my 1 year with my wife, and my in-laws are amazing. And it's like, why don't people talk about what I call the in-law advantage? There's just so many benefits. It's like having a second family essentially. So
Are you talking about
Totally.
parents or
parents, siblings, just all of
Okay.
it? But just like
not everyone feels that way
Not
about
everyone
the
feels that way about
parent-in-laws.
their
But,
parents. I just feel like, there should be more positivity around that. And granted, I lucked out. They're amazing.
Right,
Cool.
totally.
Cool, man.
Same on my end.
Oh, I didn't know a mother could cook well until my wife's mother was cooking. I went, oh my God, this is good food I didn't know existed in this world. So yes.
Yikes.
Oh, I love it.
So as a storyteller, do you have any desire to do things other than acting, like directing, writing?
Directing, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah. So on this excellent show that we're on, we, in addition to having amazing writers, we also, all of our directors have just been just really awesome. And so I've actually done some shadowing of directors. But my main reason for doing that was because I feel as an actor, it's just so important when you understand how all the different pieces fit together. You have a greater appreciation for the massive amount of work that goes into even just a day on set, into the whole machine. And I love seeing that there's, which this is a truth, right, for anything, but it's always nice to be reminded that there's so many ways to do one thing, right? So like when I see the different ways that a director works, like a director who has a background as an AD might communicate differently with our camera teams than someone who comes from a writing and editing background, or from an actor who's also a director. Like working with Jonathan Frakes, like in the way that I aspire to be more like Michael Dorn, I also want to aspire to be more like Jonathan Frakes. I'm essentially aspiring to be everyone from the next generation. But
a good goal.
As we all should be. Yes. Yeah.
Right. But he's just such a cool example of like what I would like to be if I'm around, years from now on this earth. Like, somebody who really just revels in the joy of storytelling in the world of the franchise that they have been such a big part of. And he's just a director who can speak to actors, and he can also he commands the room, he commands all the things, and he also just brings this light and this joy to set, and also commands respect and attention, and everybody just rises to the occasion. So when I see what he does, I'm just like, oh, I'd love to do that. It also, though, like, and I've spoken to a few directors about this. For me, so much of what I do when I go to set is just like I get to focus on me, right? Like, I focus on my castmates when we're in scenes together, but there's a level of like when you're done with a scene, or even in between setups and things, like you can go and just sit and just be. But as a director, you're every question comes to you. Like there's no off switch. So I'm always nice. I'm like sometimes at the end of the day, I just want to like go home, be like left alone. Then I'm like, so as an introverted person, I'm just like, I don't know. But writing, I'm a writer. And I've spent so much of the last chunk of my life trying to get a steady acting job that I have not published as much of my work as I would like to have published. But that will be changing sooner rather than later. But I'm a writer, so I always feel like if I wasn't acting, I'd be writing. I'd be storytelling in some sense. I'd be off.
What kind
traveling and just
what kind of stuff do you want to write? Do you write? Do you want to write?
So I write essays, I write prose, I write nonfiction, I write fiction. And then the two things right now online that you could see of mine are an essay I wrote that was the start of and is the start of a series called Girl with Short Hair. So you can look that up and find that about me. And then I also wrote an essay. But when did I write that essay? Time in the last 5 years has been so odd. But my late partner, he passed in December of 2021. And so I wrote an essay about him in August of 2022, I believe. That was the hardest thing I've ever written. And I'm very proud of it because it was so difficult to write at that time. But excuse me. But I felt like what was happening at that time in August of 2022 was, it was very strange for me because, as you can see, like, what is it right now? We're June 2025, and this still comes up, and it's okay, and it's good.
Sure.
And tears are good. But it was this thing of like, suddenly the world, greater part of the world knew about me because of the role of Ortegas, and the fact that he was no longer physically here just felt so wrong. So I just had this really, really great desire to tell everyone about him, not specifically about my grief, not at all, but to talk about him, because I'm like, you guys missed out because you don't get to hear this man and see this man the way that I did. So that really like compelled me to talk about him all the time. And so writing that essay was just like my way to be like, this is a little bit about what the last few months have been like, but let me tell you about Brian. And so that essay is out there as well. And I've written, I've anyone who follows me on social media or on anything, you see that I've written about him a lot. And I will continue to do so. And like what I like to talk about now, like, going to conventions and stuff, when I meet fans who talk to me about, either they've lost a partner or that, or Star Trek was something that was introduced to them by a family member who's no longer with them. And we really talk and we bond over the fact that, we're enjoying Strange New Worlds and we know they're still enjoying it, and we're enjoying it because of them. And that's so much of like what I always say and what I will always say is the Ortegas that you guys fell in love with in season 1 was because of Brian. Like,
wow, that's wonderful.
Without a doubt. So that's the other piece of writing. And I know that he was always like telling me, he's just like, I'm always up to, 25 different things, like just today I have like about a massive to-do list. And I started looking, I was like, I was supposed to be practicing my horseback riding. And I was looking up like horseback riding lessons. And I was like, that is not like a major thing I should be doing right now. Brian would like remind me. He'd be like, don't you like, you should be doing your writing. You should be doing this. And then we'd go off hiking. So yes, that's the other thing that is out there right now. So
I've read those. Yeah, I've read those 2 essays. We'll include them in the show notes. And I have to say, I completely understand that feeling of wanting to tell other people about him. That's exactly the same feeling I have with my dad. And so on his birthday or the anniversary of his death every year, and it'll be 14 years. Gosh, it'll be 14 years this year since he passed. When he was sick, I had him write basically like a little bit of a memoir, and it was mostly for me and my brother, but I put it out there. Like that's exactly the thing, is like, I want other people, especially my kids, to know their grandpa, because he was amazing. He was completely amazing. And in fact, just the other day I was able to because I had a couple hard copies of this printed just to have around the house. And I was able, my the older son was asking about it. I was like, oh yes, finally he's asking about his grandpa enough that I can say, read this. But it's exactly that. It's like other people should know who this human was. And so I love that you're doing that. And for that reason.
Yes. And something that I read just the other day, and it's exactly kind of what frustrates me sometimes when people, when they feel like, and I'm fortunately surrounded by a lot of people who completely get it. And it's in large part due to, because I only surround myself now with people who get it. Anybody who doesn't get it is no longer a part of me. But this idea of their story is not over, Yeah. So it's like when people feel like at a certain time you can't continue to say the name of your person, who's no longer physically here, or people are afraid to say their name or don't want to bring them up in case you should have, like you guys just witnessed, right? I had had a minute or so there of being a little sad, being a little teary-eyed. It gets just, comes up in my chest, and but that's okay. And so and so if I can in any way help, just people see that, because the devastation that I felt in those first months, and the fact that I was able to return to a job like Star Trek, and so everybody on set was phenomenal. And I've spoken about this before. Everybody just made me feel warm and welcome and taken care of. And so the fact that I was able to do all that while also experiencing just the craziest thing, I'm like, I want to feel like that I can somehow help other people who are going through that, So
it seems like, Melissa, all the actors on the show have such wonderful chemistry that it has to be from their own natural personalities coming forward, rather than just acting. That's who they are. And with that type of support, you can pretty much survive anything, I hope.
Yes. Yeah. And you guys probably know this already, but in season 2, the producers, our showrunners, they had the idea, and then they asked me if it was okay. They named a nebula after Brian. So you have Bannon's Nebula. And I think actually at Trek Long Island, I think one of the days there, I wore my Bannon's Nebula t-shirt.
Yep.
And we have something coming up in season 3. Nobody told me I couldn't say anything about this because, it wasn't in the publicity notes. But there's something really special coming up in season 3 that I'm excited when it does, that, to kind of talk about it with fans and to share it, and to get to share, some of my Brian's music and his voice and what he recorded while he was up in Canada with me for season 1. So while I was filming season 1 of Strange New Worlds, he was in our little apartment overlooking Lake Ontario, recording his music.
Do you think those of us who just are aware of your story will recognize that moment in season 3 when we see it?
No, you might recognize it. You very well might recognize it. Okay. And you'll definitely recognize it because I'll tell you about it.
Well, yeah.
Oh, yeah. You know what? Yeah, please send us a note when that episode airs so we can make sure
I'm going to be watching the season 3 looking for. I'm going to be looking for it to try to find it.
Yeah. We now have a healthy competition amongst the 4 podcasters here.
Who got that cookie, that Easter egg from Melissa?
Yeah. So the power of words is, it's powerful. Like, it moves. It's an art form and a way to communicate. And when you can do that well, it can really impact people. I know, just to share a personal anecdote, my daughter, both my kids, Peyton, who's 11, and Brody Tiberius. That's right, Tiberius.
Yeah. Tiberius. Love it.
Amazing name.
Both have the privilege of knowing their great-grandfather. In fact, he's 96 years old, Melissa, and he comes to our house for dinner almost every Tuesday night. We made it a point the last few years to have him over once a week. And my kids adore this man. Even when he shows up crotchety and cranky and in pain and just, like, I can't believe I'm alive another day mode, like, what in the world? But this man just keeps ticking. And one day my daughter says to him, "Grandpa, would you write me a note about me and how you feel about me?" And I'm sitting at the other side of the table going, "Oh, that's sweet, but I don't know if he's going to receive that. I hope this man receives that well,
Right.
Because he does fancy himself a little bit of a writer. And so he asked her several questions. And then the following week, he shows up with this lovely note describing my daughter, his great-granddaughter. And it was just so beautiful. She has that tucked away somewhere. And she said, "I just always want to have this, Grandpa, because I know that you're not going to always be around. And I want to be able to pull this out and read it when I feel like I need to feel like you're close to me." So those words, like when we write stuff, especially how we feel, it could be, in your case, like someone who's most important person in the world to you passes away. It could be, we don't do this enough for our spouses, for our own kids, our grandparents, like that whole art of writing a letter and expressing yourself is still unique and still powerful today. We need to do it more often.
Totally. And how profound and wise of your daughter to,
Oh, it blew me away. blew me
I'll
away.
share something very similar. It's not so much a note, but my mom, my mom passed away in 2021, and it still hits me all the time. Like there are some days where I'm like, it really hits me. But what she does, or what she did before she passed, is she made me a bunch of Christmas cards and birthday cards, and then she gave them to one of our friends. So every Christmas, every birthday, I still get a card from her, which just it makes me so sad. But it's just nice to have that moment of her, or maybe a joke that we would make, because when we used to watch TV together, we would just crack jokes with each other all the time. So she'll just reference that, and it's just so nice to get that letter. But I have to say though, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna ask if Adina's crying. I think she's crying.
I'm not. No. But I'm kind of like, I have not heard these two stories from either of you before.
Yeah.
Hey.
I just wanted to thank you for talking about grief, because I just feel like for those that don't experience grief, not that they're uncomfortable, but I just feel like
they don't know what to do. They don't know what to say.
And what I've noticed is that it's not that anyone's saying there should be a timeline, but I feel like, okay, it's been a few years, I should get over it. But I really appreciate it when people understand that, hey, grief there's no limit on that. There's no time limit.
It just it changes.
It changes. Yeah. It's a different kind of grief. So I appreciate you just sharing that. And I feel like more people need to talk about that, and just to what you're doing, what sounds like you're doing is like trying to normalize and say it's okay. It's a part of life.
Totally. And what I'll say too is with both of your stories, it's sometimes there's many cases, of course, where somebody passes, somebody dies, and you didn't have kind of the time, right, to know that was going to happen. And so then I feel like sometimes too, when people are processing their grief, or they haven't processed their grief, and people get upset because they don't have things, right, that the person left or said. But there's so many ways, and if anyone is listening, I know people will be listening to it, but anyone who is listening to it, this resonates with them. Something like I have so many things that that Brian left for me, and left. He just, this would be a whole other podcast. But he left everything for me, right? So I'm very, very blessed in that regard. But what I also have is he had such a community of friends around the world that, there'll be times where, I want to hear from him, and I miss him so much. And a friend will show up and he'll have a story about Brian, And so those are also ways that you can hear your person, So for anyone out there going like, oh, I wish I had, gotten this from them and that from them, and also you yourself in that grief, you can sit down, you can write things that your kids and your family members and your friends, like I'm fortunate that I have this beautiful Star Trek platform, right, where I can write and like people are, inclined to listen. But there's so many ways to be like you were just saying, it's language, right? So what they left for us and left with us, and that we have is how they made us feel, what they continue to make us feel, and the way to continue to pass that on in the world is through language, is through music, is through stories, is through all those things that move us. And I've spoken about this, and I will always talk about this, where it's just like when people ever trivialize storytelling, right? Or sometimes you'll hear like big actors who will try to be like, I'm just an actor. It's not like I'm curing cancer. Like, this is super easy. And I get that. It frustrates me. So, and it always frustrated me, but now it really frustrates me, because I'm like, when you're grieving, the thing that you turn to is what you enjoyed with your person. Right. And so many of those things are stories, and the people who are part of those stories and the performances. And so what we're doing as artists is no small thing, right? Because we could all be medically great and we could live forever, but without all these things that move us and make our day-to-day life, a little bit more exciting, just what are we doing really? So all of that, like even talking with you guys today and like, being able to share stories, like that's going to stay with me. And I know what I'm saying is going to stay with you. And I think just so many people are grieving and not properly addressing it. And so it's coming out. I think we're all collectively grieving in a lot of ways because of what's been going on in the last few years. And And so I'm just driven by the fact that I want to talk about Brian, and I want kind of what I've experienced to help people going through it, help them feel a little less alone.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Wow.
And one of the things that Star Trek really does well, and I think Strange New Worlds does this as well as any other iteration of Trek, is we get the escapism part of the sci-fi, the adventure, the action, the romance, the humor, all that stuff. But it still talks about real issues and things that are just human, a part of the human experience. And for me, that's something that I particularly love about sci-fi, but really that I love about Star Trek is that you can escape, you can have fun. You know, there's something for everybody, really, which is an amazing thing about Star Trek. But you also got to bring your brain along with you. And I enjoy that immensely. I think Strange New Worlds does that really well, too.
It does it just as well as the original and Next Generation did.
Oh, yeah.
It's somehow,
Wow,
and it's
thank
just how I really feel about Strange New Worlds. It's like it somehow captures the joy and the wonder of like TNG, especially original series, but makes it feel modern. And it's like this is the best marriage between the new and the old. So I think you guys are just like nailing it every single episode.
That's so cool you said that, Chris, because I just wrote an article for the Star Trek Family Engage magazine, and it talks about how does Strange New Worlds capture the magic of the original Star Trek, that thing that we loved about the original Star Trek, and Strange New Worlds has just done that in space. It's tremendous.
Thank you guys for saying it. Thank you. And it's really, we have a team behind us who are creators as well as fans. And you'll see in scripts, you'll see things. Sometimes I'll read things in scripts where I'll know that it's like an homage to something. And it's done with such love and with such talent that it like, I just sit there sometimes and I'm just like, I'm like, the fans are going to love this, and then I hear from the fans and like, they love that. But this idea, they do love it. But this idea of like, that it captured, just like what you said, the joy and the wonder of the original series. And then it also modernizes it in a way that just feels organic. And it feels like this crew has always existed, which, is thanks to our showrunners and our casting directors who brought us all together. But yeah, Star Trek, it deals with, and especially, again, totally biased because this is my show, but I feel like we were able to do the dramatic, the comedic, and it's also exists in the same 1 hour, do you know? And I think that's life, right? Like all of life is not dark. All of life is not happy. It's, I'll have days where it's just like, I'm having a great moment and then I'm having just sadness but that's life. And so when a show can capture that, and then make it fun and make it enjoyable and have it be well written that people enjoy watching those episodes over and over again, that's all you can ask for. But yeah, Trek touches on the light and the darkness and we see ourselves in it. And I've mentioned this before, how our showrunners always said that the bridge should reflect the world, so we have this international fandom, and when they see Strange New Worlds, they should see themselves. We're not rewriting anything. We're not creating a world that doesn't exist. It's the world as it is. It's just, we need to see it on our television screens.
That's what Gene wanted to do with the original series. He wanted to see a bridge that represented what everyone was, and you got that with an Asian pilot and an African American at the controls and those things like that. You've got that as well in the show, which is really well. And speaking about what Brian mentioned about Engage magazine, I hope you'll check it out this month, because this is the Strange New World episode or issue, and I'll have a couple of articles in there too as well. Besides Brian,
love it.
So
it's a pleasure to write for it.
Yeah, so for our listeners, we should explain what that is. So on Facebook, there's a Star Trek family group that exists on Facebook and also on a website, and it's through the Star Trek family group. They put out this magazine for Star Trek family members, which is something like 12,000 members strong or more now.
I think so. Yeah.
Wow.
Yes. So
I didn't
check
know
it
it
out.
was that many.
Yeah, I think it's just stfamily.org. Well, we'll find it. We'll put the link in the show notes
Yeah.
where you
We'll
can
put the
find it.
link
Or, yes.
in the show notes.
Yeah.
Love it.
Okay. Melissa, thank you so much for spending some time with us this evening.
Guys, it has been an absolute pleasure. Please, let's do this again. Let's do this again.
Oh, thank you.
Don't be
Anytime.
strangers.
No. Well, of course we won't, because shore leave is coming up very soon.
Oh, yeah. Will you be at shore leave?
I'll be at shore leave. These other guys won't,
wonderful.
but I'll be at shore leave. So I'll definitely see you there. So everyone who's listening, go see Melissa when she's on stage. Come see my science talk or when I'm with the authors at shore leave. And that's going to wrap up this episode today of the Big Sci-Fi Podcast. Again, thank you so much, Melissa, for bringing some heart and humor and just some great energy to the helm of the Enterprise. We appreciate it and love it so much. And of course, thank you. Oh, and I want to thank our amazing listeners for tuning in as always. Again, if you enjoyed this episode, always remember to do the likes, sharing, subscribing stuff wherever you listen to podcasts. And we already talked about shore leave. I'm just going to say it once again, shore leave in Lancaster, PA in
That was 3
July.
times.
I know, shore leave.
Anyways.
It's fun to say.
Does that create Beetlejuice comes up when you say
I was
that?
going to say, if you say it 3 times, you end up you're at shore leave.
At shore leave, yes. So everyone, remember to always be kind to others, live long and prosper, and tune into the next episode of the Big Sci-Fi Podcast.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Big Sci-Fi Podcast. If you're having fun and enjoying the podcast, we ask that you would share the love by liking, following, subscribing, rating, and writing a review for us. That helps get our podcast in front of more potential listeners. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. Once again, we're a part of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network, and you can find our podcast along with other fantastic podcasts by visiting trekgeeks.com. Coconut.